The film begins with a gambler about to get into his car when he is suddenly killed by a stranger. The killer then steals a ledger and leaves. At the same time, another assassin storms into an office and stabs 2 security guards in the throat. Shortly after, he throws a baseball into another gambler's face, killing him before stealing a ledger and walking away. The story then shifts to a train station where a man named Smith is speaking with a young man named Nick. Smith tells the story of a man named Max and a criminal gang involved in horse racing. 20 years earlier, horse racing was very popular, and Max heard a rumor that a certain horse was guaranteed to win. Believing it, Max borrowed money from the gang to place his bet. When he went to the racetrack, he took his son with him, but told the boy to wait in the car. The son was upset when he found out his father was gambling. Max reassured him that the winnings would be used to pay for his college tuition. However, he naively believed the rumors, unaware that the race was actually fixed. The horse he had bet on even collapsed in the middle of the track. The bookie warned him that failing to repay the Mafia would be extremely dangerous, but Max still did not stop. After the race, Max returned to the parking lot but found his car gone. The Mafia had also kidnapped his son. They brutally tortured Max before killing both him and his wife. Shortly after, Smith suddenly rose from his wheelchair, knocked Nick unconscious, and loaded his body onto a truck. The story then shifts to a young man named Slevin. While wiping the remaining shaving cream from his face, he heard a loud noise at the front door. Wearing only a towel, Slevin walked over and opened it, where he was met by a young woman named Lindsay. At first, she was surprised as she thought she would be meeting Nick, her friend and the owner of the apartment. Slevin noticed that Lindsay sat in a way that made her appear taller than she really was. She was immediately drawn to his neat and meticulous appearance. Curious about his injured nose, Lindsay asked, and Slevin explained. After losing his job, he went to his girlfriend's place and discovered she was cheating on him with another man. Later, Slevin flew to New York to visit his close friend Nick. As soon as he got off the plane, he was on the phone with Nick when a stranger approached him, asking for a cigarette. Slevin replied that he didn't smoke, and the man demanded money before punching him in the nose. Lindsay pointed out that the mugger never took his luggage or the expensive watch he was wearing. Slevin was intrigued by Lindsay's intelligence and precision. She asked about Nick, and Slevin explained that he had not arrived yet. Nick was supposed to meet him at the apartment but never showed up. Slevin mentioned that he had entered because the door was unlocked. When the phone rang, Slevin answered, but the caller immediately hung up. Lindsay quickly redialed the number, pretending it was a mistake. She then told Slevin that the call had come from the Cheval Hotel. She insisted they needed to find out who had called and tried again, this time reaching the hotel directly. Lindsay feared that Nick might be in danger and believed the anonymous call from the hotel could be a clue. She was excited about playing detective, but since she had to go to work, she rushed out of the apartment. In her hurry, she forgot the bag of sugar she had come to pick up, and returned just as Slevin was about to remove his towel. After grabbing the sugar, Lindsay invited Slevin to meet her later. Once she left, the doorbell rang again. Thinking it was Lindsay, Slevin hurried to open the door, only to find 2 thugs working for someone who called himself the boss. They acted aggressively, mistaking Slevin for Nick. Slevin tried to insist that they had the wrong man, but he couldn't prove it because his wallet had been stolen. The thugs, however, had orders to take whoever was living in the apartment, so they followed through. After punching him in the face, they kidnapped Slevin and dragged him outside to a car. The boss lived in the penthouse of a heavily guarded building and was considered the head of a major crime organization. During their conversation, Slevin tried to appear clever, turning it into a tense game of words. Eventually, the boss revealed that Nick owed him $96,000. Since Slevin didn't have the money, the boss made him an offer. He explained that he once had a beloved son, but the boy had been killed by a rival criminal known as the Rabbi. Slevin was forced to work for the boss and carry out the assassination of the rabbi's son. The son was known as the Fairy because he was gay. With no other choice, Slevin agreed and left with the thugs. Right after that, the boss spoke with Smith, a hitman, and the truth came to light. In reality, the boss had hired Smith to kill the fairy, but they needed Slevin to take the blame. At the same time, two men hiding in a truck disguised as a water delivery vehicle photographed Slevin as he was escorted out of the building. One of them then told the other to contact a detective named Burkowski. Slevin returned to Nick's apartment. Lindsay arrived, intending to take him to the Cheval Hotel to continue the investigation. She knew a hotel employee who could help identify who had called the apartment. At that moment, she noticed Slevin focused on a newspaper. The front page reported the disappearance of Hopkins, a man ironically suspected of being involved in several other mysterious disappearances. The phone in the apartment rang, and Lindsay quickly answered, assuming it was the hotel employee. While waiting, Slevin began getting dressed. When he opened the door, two men dressed like Hasidic Jews were there, saying that Shlomo wanted to see him. Slevin tried to explain that he didn't know anyone by that name, but he was punched in the stomach and taken to meet the rabbi. On the way, Slevin noticed that the boss's building and the rabbi's building stood directly across from each other. The thug explained that the rabbi and the boss had once been partners, even close friends, but eventually turned on each other and tried to kill one another. Since then, neither had left their building. Slevin was then taken to meet the rabbi, and their conversation turned into another verbal cat and mouse game. In the end, the rabbi told Slevin that he owed him $33,000. Slevin tried to explain that they had mistaken him for someone else and that Nick was only his friend. However, the rabbi gave him 48 hours to come up with the money by any means. After Slevin was escorted out, it was revealed that Smith was playing both sides and was secretly working with the rabbi as well. The rabbi told Smith that he had transferred half of the agreed payment into his account and that the rest would be paid once the boss was dead. He then asked why the hitman needed Slevin, but Smith only replied that he and the young man still had unfinished business. It became clear that neither the boss nor the rabbi actually needed Slevin, but Smith had his own connection to him. The rabbi insisted that he could always spot a liar and that the young man was clearly not Nick. Smith simply smiled, walked away, and said he already knew. Later, Slevin returned to the apartment and met Lindsay. She told him she had gone to the hotel where the call had come from. With help from a friend who worked there, she discovered that the caller was actually Smith. Lindsay had even taken a picture of him in the elevator, but Slevin said he didn't recognize him. He then told her everything that had happened to him that day. Afterward, Slevin met with the boss and agreed to assassinate the fairy. He asked for a week to finish the job, but the boss only gave him 3 days. The boss suggested playing a game of chess with Slevin. If Slevin won, he would have a week to kill the fairy. If he lost, the original deal of 3 days would remain. During the game, the boss explained that the fairy was heavily guarded by highly skilled bodyguards, all of them veterans. She also wore a protective charm around her neck. By pressing the button on it, a security alarm would activate, and guards would arrive at her apartment within 5 seconds. Meanwhile, it was revealed that Smith was directly involved in the plan and was also behind Nick's death. In truth, Smith was plotting to kill both Slevin and the fairy, staging it to look like a double suicide. In the end, Slevin lost the chess game and had only 3 days to finish the job. As he left the building, he was spotted by a group of detectives in a minivan. They had been looking for Nick, so they were confused when they saw Slevin because they had no idea who he was. At the same time, the detectives learned that a hitman known as Good Cat had returned to town, so they also had to stay on guard against him. When Slevin returned home, Lindsay revealed that she worked at the morgue and had discovered the body of the rabbi's bookie. Detective Burkowski was also there and mentioned that he used to gamble with the murdered bookie. Lindsay believed that Nick had escaped and set up Slevin. She thought Nick had paid a stranger on the street to steal Slevin's wallet and documents. Lindsay insisted that Nick killed the 2 bookies because they were the only ones who could recognize him. After that, she said she had to get back to work, but invited Slevin to dinner. That evening, while they were eating at a restaurant, Slevin noticed that the fairy was also there. When she went into the bathroom, Slevin followed her. Detective Burkowski followed Slevin, but he managed to lock the door behind him. After dinner, Slevin told Lindsay that he had pretended to be gay in order to arrange a meeting with the fairy. He also revealed that Bukowski had confronted him in the bathroom. During that encounter, the detective explained that his mission was to capture Nick, but Nick had already vanished. Still, Bukowski believed there was a connection between Rabbi Smith and Slevin. Later, Lindsay and Slevin returned home and spent the night together. The next day, when Slevin left the house, he was arrested by the detectives. He gave them his full name and was eventually released because they found no connection linking him to the case. Later, the boss's henchman brought Slevin a suit and escorted him to his meeting with the fairy. Outside, the rabbi's henchman was found dead inside a car. Slevin entered the fairy's apartment and immediately shot him in the stomach. At that moment, Smith appeared and shot the fairy in the head instead of killing Slevin. Slevin showed no surprise, convinced that the two of them had been working together all along. He then walked to the car and pulled a dead body from the trunk. Meanwhile, Smith crushed the protective charm in his hand. Just then, the guards stormed through the wall, but Smith swiftly killed them with 2 silenced pistols. Finally, Slevin laid the man's body beside the fairy's corpse. At this point, it is revealed that the dead man is actually Nick, the one Smith attacked at the beginning of the film. Shortly after, Smith and Slevin blow up the entire apartment. They then head to the boss, killing his henchman in the elevator on the way. While Smith goes in to confront the boss, Slevin visits the rabbi to settle his $33,000 debt. When the rabbi opened the briefcase, he found it empty. At that moment, Slevin struck him hard on the head, knocking him unconscious. In the next scene, both the Mafia boss and the rabbi wake up tied up. Slevin then appears and reveals a major twist. The ones who killed Max were the Mafia boss and the rabbi, while Slevin is actually Henry, Max's son. Smith turned out to be a hitman who had taken in and raised young Henry after facing a moral dilemma. Slevin revealed that he and Smith had killed the bookies and stolen the ledger. They then executed Nick and assumed his identity after discovering that he owed money to both the boss and the rabbi. To exact revenge, Slevin killed the boss's son and used the situation to lure the boss into paying Smith to kill the rabbi's son. Smith secured the contract to kill the boss's fairy and convinced the rabbi to protect him, on the condition that both men would settle Nick's debts. This gave Slevin and Smith unrestricted access to the heavily guarded gang. After revealing his true identity, Slevin placed plastic bags over the rabbis and the boss's heads, suffocating them to death in the same way they had once killed his father. It is later revealed that Smith killed Lindsay because she took a photo of him. While searching for Slevin, Bukowski received a call from his superior and learned the origin of Slevin's name. The horse that Slevin's father once bet on was called Lucky Number Slevin, and the word Kalevra in Hebrew means bad dog, similar to Smith's nickname. Bukowski met his end when Slevin suddenly jumped out from the back seat and shot him, completing his spectacular revenge. At the train station, Lindsay reunited with Slevin, while Smith revealed that he had once ordered Slevin to kill her because she had a photo of him. However, the truth came to light. Slevin had already revealed his real identity to Lindsay and helped her fake her death. He also made it clear to Smith that Lindsay had to be spared. Smith understood and decided to let her live. Before leaving, he returned Slevin's father's old watch. And that's the end of the film. Thank you for watching.